All right, our next talk, Every Label Tells a Story, or 2 or 3, by Tonya Haff.
Hi everyone, my name is Tonya Haff. I'm from the Australian National Wildlife Collection in Canberra. And today I'd like to tell you about this kingbird of paradise, Sucinurus regius. It's from the lowlands of New Guinea. And the reason I want to tell you about it today is not because it's unbelievably beautiful, because when it's alive, the male would have had an incredible mating display, or because it's from the lowlands of New Guinea that share a really recent geological and evolutionary history with Australia. But the reason I want to talk to you about it today is because of the really rich history that it's had after it's been collected. So to give you a bit of a backstory, Lord Walter Rothschild approached Ernst Mayr at a societal meeting in 1927, and he proposed a collecting trip for birds and butterflies to New Guinea. And probably a lot of you already know who Rothschild was, but just in case you don't, he was a vocal Zionist from a really wealthy banking family in England. He was really shy and awkward, but he loved nature. He tried to go into the family business of banking, but he dropped out of Cambridge. He was a really half-hearted banker. And eventually, his parents helped him found the Tring Zoological Museum at their family estate in Tring, outside of London. And there he hired librarians and curators and collectors who went all over the world bringing back material for his incredible zoological collection. So Ernst Mayr, a very young Ernst Mayr, who was only 24 years old, was one of the people who he approached. He already had his PhD, by the way. And so he went down to Western New Guinea and collected almost 3,000 bird specimens. He was only 24 years old, like I said. This was before he was famous for the biological species concept or for the modern evolutionary synthesis, which really married Darwinian evolution and genetics. But I think that this specimen, one reason why this specimen is so special is because it was when Mayr was doing this work in New Guinea and in the Solomon Islands, when he went to directly after New Guinea, that really affected his thinking about evolution for the rest of his life. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that the development of evolutionary theory in the 20th and 21st centuries would not be the same if he hadn't gone on this collecting trip and collected this and all the other birds that he did in New Guinea in the late 20s. So how did this bird get one of our labels? So I should just point out that that's actually Mayer's handwriting up in the top label. He drew the size of this bird's testes. And then the next label down is its locality, and it has a Rothschild Museum label on it, as well as the label underneath that, which has the publication that where Mayr describes all his collecting on that trip. So how did the bird get to our collection? Well, Rothschild never married. He was eventually blackmailed by a former mistress, and he was forced to put his bird collection up for sale. And Mayr, who by then worked at the American Museum of Natural History in New York, helped with to broker the acquisition of the New Guinea collection with the help of the philanthropist Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney. And so this bird traveled from New Guinea to London and all the way to the New World, to New York, and eventually it made its way back to Australasia in the early 1960s as part of an intergovernmental agreement between the AMNH and the Australian government back when New Guinea was, and Papua New Guinea was in Australian territory. So in about 35 years, this bird traveled around the world back to closer to where it came from. And really for us in Australia, this bird is symbolic, it has a lot of symbolic value because bird specimens from Australasia have really influenced how we understand evolution. But most of the early specimens that were collected in Australia and New Guinea, and almost all of the type specimens, went to the northern hemisphere and are still there. So for this specimen which is really so steeped in so much cultural and scientific history from all over the world, to make its way back to Australasia means a great deal indeed. Thanks.